name is Judge, and today I am going to give you my prediction for the top 10 worst arena cards that will be coming out tomorrow in the Madness at the Darkmoon Faire expansion. This list was much easier to put together than my list for the top 10 cards that I've predicted. There's a video as well released today for the top 10 cards that you can check out if you haven't already. There are a lot less terrible cards than there are great cards this expansion, yet I still believe that this expansion is probably the weakest overall in the last three. There's just been some crazy power levels of cards in the last three expansions. So without further ado, let's take a look at what I think will be the 10 worst. Number 10, we have 5 mana 3/3 Priest Taunt, Fortune Teller. Battlecry, gain +1/+1 for each spell in your hand. How many spells do you need for this card to not be bad? Well, if you have one spell, it's a 5 mana 4/4 Taunt, which is bad. If you have two spells, it's a 5 mana 5/5 Taunt, which is okay. It's not good, but it's fine. 5 mana 5/5. 5 mana 5/5 stat line's just gotten a lot weaker over the last year, and something I really don't want in my deck. If you have three spells, it's a 5 mana 6/6 Taunt, which is great. 5 mana, if you have three spells, this card is great. The problem is, it is very difficult to consistently have three spells. In a deck with an unusual amount of spells, like a lot of spells, this could find its place, but it's just not consistent enough to be viable. I think you're going to be skipping this card quite often, or you're going to be trying it out and realizing, wow, this is a 5 mana 4/4 way too often, or that a 5 mana 5/5 just doesn't cut it. This is my 10th worst card, and I think it is one of the by far actually the best out of the 10 we're going to see. So some pretty terrible cards coming up. Number 9, we have Umbral Owl, 7 mana 4/4 Rush for Druid that costs 1 less for each spell you've cast this game. Very similar to the last card we just saw, in that it's a minion that can be a lot better with a certain condition, and that condition being related to spells. So this is a little different, where you have to play spells at any point in the game, not have them in your hand. Makes it a little more consistent, but I believe that is just too many spells to actually make this good. If you could play this on turn 3 as a 3 mana 4/4 Rush, that would be great. The odds of that happening are very slim. There are a decent amount of cheap Druid spells, and if you can pull it off, incredible. Other than that, though, it needs to cost 2, really, after turn 6 for it to be good. 3 mana after turn 6, and it's okay. To have to play 4 spells before this is even, like, pretty good in the late game, it's just too conditional. You're going to draw it, it's going to be a dead card. You're going to want to hold it and wait for more spells. It's just too conditional. This won't be very good in Arena. You can try it, and you'll see that it's just going to be too expensive. Alright, those two cards were pretty bad, but now with number 8, we get into the cards that are really bad. Next up, number 8, we have Banana Vendor. 3 mana, 2/4, Battlecry, add 2 bananas to each player's hand. Poof, this is a worse King Mukla. It's a 3 mana 2/4. Imagine you casted the bananas on this. 5 mana 4/6, add 2 bananas to each player's hand. Kind of like King Mukla, but you have to pay 2 mana to get your buffs instead of just starting with the stats of a King Mukla. Giving your opponents bananas is usually very bad. This is just going to be a terrible card. It's just a worse King Mukla. 3 mana 2/4 is not a great stat line. It's a bad stat line, and you're just giving your opponent, if you play this on 3, the first chance to gain tempo on you by playing bananas. And if you play it later, it's just a terrible stat line. You'd have to have some insane synergy with these spells to even make it okay. Just an awful card. I think the fact that this is number 8 on my list really speaks volumes about the quality we are going to see in the next 7 cards. Number 7, we have Knife Vendor. This Fair really needs to get better vendors. 4 mana, 3/4, Battlecry, deal 4 damage to each hero. 4 mana, 3/4. You just can't get away with that. I mean, Gnomish Inventor has gotten worse and worse and worse. But drawing a card is better than a mirror effect here of dealing 4 damage to each hero. The only way I see this working is in a very aggressive hunter. But Arena just doesn't have the consistency that Constructed has to get all that face damage where this could actually become good. It's just an understated, bad card. The mirror effect is no good. This would have to be 4 or 5. This would have to be a 4 or 5. Otherwise, the effect just isn't going to work in Arena. Moving on to another tier of bad. We have number 6. Maxima Blastenheimer, a 6-mana 4/4 legendary for Hunter. Battlecry, summon a minion from your deck. It attacks the enemy hero, then dies. So I guess the question would be, how big does this minion have to be in order for this card to be good? And it's got to be pretty freaking big. I mean, it's got to be a Tonk. It's got to be a Tonk. It's got to be a Proto Drake. It's got to be something very chonky. And there's a couple, right? There's a couple hits that, sure, it's great with. But on average, this is probably something like a 6-mana 4/4 deal 2 damage to the enemy hero, or 6-mana 4/4 deal 3 damage to the enemy hero. If it is better than that on average, it means that your curve in your deck is bad, and that you're probably just going to lose because of that. Card is terrible. It wasn't meant to be a good arena card. It's meant to be in a small spell hunter with this and only a couple big minions as a constructed concept. You're not going to draft this card unless you're going for the memes if you've got 2 Tonks and you want to hit one. Terrible card. Number 5, we have another legendary. This time from Shaman, 3-mana 0/4 Grand Totem Eyesore. At the end of your turn, give +1/+1 to all other totems in your hand, deck, and battlefield. 3-mana 0/4 is not a stat line that you want to play in Arena. The reason that this is number 5 and not worse, like up towards number 3, 2, is because this card can do something really good, even though it's probably going to be worse than some of the other cards most of the time. I think that overall this will probably be able to do more for your deck than the top 4. So it's mostly going to be trash, but there are going to be particular decks. There's the 5-mana 5/5 totem. There's the Amalgam totem that's coming out. If you can hit a hero power and one of those and throw this down, maybe it's only going to be bad and not unplayable. So this takes the number 5 slot. Of course, another card that is going to be used in Constructed, Totem Shaman for sure, but just doesn't have a place in Arena. It's a 3-mana 0/4. It's hot garbage. It's going to take up a slot in your hand. Bad card. The 4th worst card coming out in Madness at the Darkmoon Faire. It pains me to say this, but it is Yogg-Saron, Master of Fates. 10-mana 7/5 Battlecry. If you've cast 10 spells this game, spin the wheel of Yogg-Saron. Here is the wheel of Yogg-Saron, and there is a 5% chance to hit the Rod of Roasting, and everything else has an equal chance to be hit. That isn't really going to matter because you are never going to be able to play 10 spells and then throw down the Yogg. I shouldn't say never. People will draft a ton of spells just to try to make Yogg work. They'll take a worse deck overall just to try to get the Yogg going, of course. But, after that memery settles down a little bit, it's not a practical card. Very, very few decks even have 10 spells, let alone being able to consistently play 10 spells before drawing or playing this. It's a 10-mana 7/5. It's bad. Sorry, Yogg. Number 3, we have High Exarch Yrel, 8-mana 7/5 Paladin Legendary. Battlecry. If your deck has no neutral cards, gain Rush, Lifesteal, Taunt, and Divine Shield. I'll say this. If you have 3 Wyrmrest Purifiers in your deck, this becomes an excellent choice. A fantastic choice. If your deck has no neutral cards, this is insane. Problem is, we're playing Arena, and you've got neutral cards. You've got a lot of neutral cards, and you probably don't have Wyrmrest Purifier. And if you do, you have to draw it and play it before you draw this, and then you change the rest of your deck. So it's still not even maybe good to sacrifice everything to draw this. Although this could swing games pretty heavily. Nah, it's an 8-mana 7/5. It's trash in Arena. 5 health for 8 mana makes it pretty well unplayable. It will probably be so little tempo that it could lose you the game. If you're already winning and you top deck this, it's like a hefty top deck, I guess, but you're probably in good shape if you can throw this down and not lose the game, and you wouldn't need it anyway. Just not a card that will see play in Arena. Number 2, it's 3 mana. Rogue spell, Cloak of Shadows. Give your hero stealth for 1 turn. It's Rogue Ice Block, sort of, but not really, kind of. It's Rogue Timeout, a little bit. This card is trash. This card and the number 1 card are, I think, in a league of their own when it comes to being terrible. I mean, it's a card meant for constructed combo decks where you're just looking to survive 1 more turn. It's a waste of space in your deck. Maybe there will be some times where you want to discover it to survive 1 more turn to look for a lethal top deck, but it's just a waste of space. It's also an epic. You are very rarely going to see a drafted Cloak of Shadows, and you will laugh out loud when you do. Horrific card, but not quite as bad, in my opinion, as number 1, the worst card for Arena coming out in Darkmoon Faire. 6 mana legendary spell in Warlock, Deck of Chaos. Swap the cost and attack of all minions in your deck. So here's the thing. This, on average, is roughly a 6 mana do absolutely nothing. That also costs a card in your hand. There are some really good minions you can hit with Deck of Chaos. There's also a lot of bad minions you can hit with Deck of Chaos. If you happen to have a deck that is decent for Deck of Chaos with more good minions to hit than bad, and maybe a couple OP minions to hit, like a Batterhead or something similar, it still costs 6 mana of do nothing to play and does not affect minions in your hand, so you have to wait at least the next turn. And even if you do come back with a solid minion for a low cost, you're likely already dead or about to be dead, even if you play something for cheap. The card is horrendous. It'll be very interesting to see if this card finds a place in Constructed with any Deck of Chaos decks, but this card will be maybe the worst legendary, not of just the set, but the worst possible legendary to get, the worst possible card to get out of the entire meta coming into the Arena. And that takes care of my predictions for the top 10 worst cards for the Arena coming out with the new expansion tomorrow. Hey, any bad cards that I missed? Let me know in the comments below. Any cards you think were just blatantly out of order? Also, let me know in the comments below. Interested to know what you guys think. Also, if you're interested in checking out my entire review / discussion of all 135 cards with Veritas and Keladar, fellow leaderboard players, live, take a look at the link in the description below. And as I said at the beginning of the video, top 10 best cards video also released today. Be sure to check that out. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
My name is Judge.
Whose name is Judge?
My name is.
Whose name is Judge?
My name is.
That's a silly name.
Judge.
Okay, that's enough.